Hello, everyone. Here's Mel Cherrygate again with Whoever You Are, a podcast. I have another guest. Her name is Megan, and she's here to also share her story a little bit. I found her on Instagram, and she's been doing a lot of posting very interesting, very fun, which is one thing that I don't know how to do, like make those fun and engaging, and more like a talker. And but I think it's awesome because it brings a little lightness to the subject, and I think it speaks to a lot of people, because you do it like in more like in a fun way, and so I like it very much. So Megan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm really happy to have you. So tell us a little bit about why you decided to do the channel to share, and if you want to share a little bit of your journey, because I know you're like 3 years in,
Yeah, a little more than 3 years. Yeah.
and 3 years sober.
Thank
Congratulations!
you.
And how what happened that you decided that you wanted to stop?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I'm a little over 3 years sober. I kind of started my Instagram account probably less than a year ago. Just starting with my therapy practice because I am a licensed therapist in Oregon in the U.S. And so I started it off of that, and when I started my own private practice doing trauma and EMDR therapy. And as I was kind of working through that and trying to add and kind of scale my business, I really wanted to do more um, directed to sobriety and recovery and helping women in that sense because a lot of my therapy practice is, working with people in trauma and EMDR,
Wow.
not specifically substance use. And so this was a way to channel that kind of energy and that way to help people into, yeah, sobriety and recovery because it's a huge part of my life too.
Yeah, because usually addiction comes from trauma a lot. So there's a real link there, right?
Yeah, yeah, and so with my therapy license, it's kind of restricts me to only work with people in the state that I'm licensed in, and so being able to expand kind of into a coaching world with focusing on recovery, yeah, using Instagram to reach out to a lot more women um,
Yeah.
to help because yeah, like I said, recovery is a big part of my life and has really improved my life so much that I want to help other women get there. I want to kind of end the stigma of what addiction and recovery looks like because it's just so, at least when I was starting to get sober too, it was just hard to ask for help because I didn't want people to judge me or
Mhm.
think less of me. And that probably kept me stuck for quite a while too.
Yeah. I also struggle with the sharing part, and then I started. Now I'm going to share it, but I didn't know if I want to share everything because it got really bad.
Hmm.
But then I thought if I'm going to share, I have to be honest because otherwise it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think it's for me, kind of like what we talked a little bit about before, is that I kind of grew up really shy and really just like focused on my academics and just like succeeding. I was like a perfectionist and high achiever. To a fault that like my anxiety, like now I can look back and be like, I could not be in social circumstances without like overthinking everything. And so when I had my first drink in high school, that was like, I loved it. Like it was just something that was completely different than my normal life. I could just relax and just be and have fun and wasn't just overthinking everything. And that was kind of like the start of it. I loved drinking. I loved going and partying. I loved, like looking back, you can kind of, I don't know if you can do this too, Mel, but you can kind of see times where you were probably a little bit more eager to go and party than your friends were, or like wanting to drink more than they did. And it was just because like it just felt so freeing to finally.
And then you went, yeah, I remember like seeing my friend with the cup still full,
Hmm.
and mine was already gone.
Yeah.
And I was expecting like they to finish so I could ask another one. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel so bad about it. But then it's funny because it's not funny actually. But you do start to feel like there's something different here in my drinking. But at the same time, you're still not there to say like, okay, it's becoming a problem. But if I look back on my problem, it was already given signs.
Hmm.
Like maybe you're drinking too much. Maybe you might have a problem. And but it took me years to like realize that I had a problem. It took me like 3 rehabs
Mm-hmm.
to finally got in my mind that I had to stop.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like also why I think Instagram has been really kind of healing for me too, to share my story and be completely honest, because yeah, for a long time I didn't want to tell like yeah that's how much I was actually drinking or how much it really affected me, but it's been really healing to actually put it out there, because I know when I was struggling, it would have been nice to see people be like, actually, this is where I'm at, and it's okay, and because you get embarrassed by like how much you're drinking and how often, and you don't want to say it because you're afraid that people will judge you and think differently of you. When really, there's a lot of women out there that have gone through this,
Um,
and
yeah,
women who have gone to rehab multiple times, and it took a certain time to for it to click or for it to be ready, and I think that's where I have found a lot of power in sharing my story, and you
and
know
there is a lot of women sharing, but I'm always thinking the ones that are not sharing because they are maybe in such a bad place that they can't even do that. So this kind of women that actually, women and men that actually want to reach out, and they are the most difficult one to reach because they are usually not, sometimes not even looking for help,
hmm
much less in sobriety, Instagram, because you feel so shame when you see like I can't do that, I'm not being able to do that, and then you feel shame. So it's really hard to get to the people that are really, really, really in need. And and I was just seeing that actress that died. That's everywhere, right? It's hating something, and she just did a podcast on Netflix on Propose, and she was sharing, and she was saying that she was much better.
hmm
And for what I saw in the news, she had an overdose. So it is so dangerous, and sometimes people are showing up like they're better, but they're not.
yeah,
Because you want so much to be better, but you're just not, and sometimes you're not using anything anymore, but you're still depressed, you're still anxious, you still feel disconnected, and and that's the hard part because some people stop drinking and they suddenly they have, oh my god, my life is great now, and but it's not like this for everybody, you
right,
know
yeah. I think
sometimes.
I think it's very, there's that idea that yeah, once you stop drinking, once you stop using, like all of a sudden life just turns beautiful, and that would be lovely if it was, but usually it's because like you're drinking for a reason, right? You're using for a reason. It's because it's been helping you in some way, and then it gets to a point where it becomes not helpful anymore. And
Yeah,
so, like you said, is that you can take away the drinking, you can take away the drugs, but like if you're not continuing to grow and look at like what led to that, then it's really hard to get to a place where you're feeling comfortable and feeling good and feeling safe.
yeah,
And
yeah. I personally like I don't feel like having a drink when I'm having anxiety or I'm a little depressed, or I'm not having my best day, because it still happens. But I don't. I'm not triggered to drink, but I am like, oh my God, what do I do with that?
Hmm.
And then you have to deal with the feeling.
Yeah.
And sometimes the people say, oh, you have to see the root of the feeling. But sometimes, honestly, there's no root of the
Yeah.
feeling. I'm just anxious, or I'm just not in my best day, or, I'm tired, and don't sleep well. So you have to deal with that without anything, or
Yeah.
alcohol, right?
Yeah, I
And
think a lot of us kind of got into this place where, yeah, feeling was just scary. And so, like, if we can just not feel, it's better and we can just kind of go through life. And so, yeah, when you stop drinking, it's like all these things come up that you've been numbing. And yeah, you made a really amazing point too, is that you don't have to know why you're feeling that way. And that's kind of like, what I talk a lot about my therapy practice and with my coaching clients too, is it's like we just have to accept feelings and being like, okay, yeah, today's just not a great day and that's okay. I don't have to
yeah,
do anything about it. I can, just state that, yeah, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling kind of sad today, and it's okay. And I think we get into this mindset that any negative feelings means it's bad, like we can't have them.
yeah, like it's
Or
gonna. No, sorry. It's when we have like a bad feeling or a bad day, it seems like you're relapsing, even if you're not drinking or using drugs, because it's the same feeling.
mm-hmm,
And we are like to ourselves, but this was I was not supposed to be feeling like that. Like, I'm sober,
mm-hmm.
you know, and it's it just it's just not the way that it goes, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of when the first part of recovery is the toughest is because it's actually like once you get sober, that's one part, but then the afterwards, that's like where all the work comes because that's where you're actually learning about yourself and growing and figuring out who you are without alcohol. Because and that was a big scary part for me too. Because my drinking, like, it got to a point where high school, college, that was a fun partying kind of hanging out with people, but it got to be so isolating. And then like through my 20s, I would say like it was just like a routine. Like I'd go to work and I'd come home and have a couple bottles of wine, and that was just like every night. And so like when it came to you know that that's not good. You know that that's not normal, but at the same time, it just like that's just all I knew. And so
Yeah,
and that's
that-
all I wanted in that moment. Even though I wasn't happy, I just craved to have that drink at the end of the
yeah,
day.
yeah. It becomes a solution,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? It,
yeah,
be, it becomes medicine. It
hmm,
becomes it becomes company.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
kind of
your
forget
best
what that
friend.
what life was like before it got that bad. So you forget that there is a part where you can get those needs met without alcohol, but because it's been so long, you don't know. You don't know. And so for me, it actually got to a point where I knew it was getting bad. Um, but it took a while for me to actually kind of make some action on it. And it actually took me getting in trouble. I got like a DUI I got court ordered to go to treatment, and still I went to intensive outpatient, so I didn't actually go to like rehab first, but I failed that like 3 times because I kept drinking because I just didn't care at that point.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It
yeah.
is. It is maybe hard to some people to understand, because if you know you have a problem, why you're not doing something about it, but it's not that simple.
Hmm. Yeah, and there's all these excuses that you come up in your head, being like, well, I still have a job, I'm still like have a house, I still like I
Yeah, I'm
had
not
like
falling on the street or something
yeah,
like
there's all these reasons in your head that like convince yourself that it's not that bad.
that.
When
Yeah,
looking back, it was like, well, I was pretty miserable. Like my life was not fun. Like it was the same thing every day. I was lonely. I was just kind of going through the motions of things. Um,
yeah,
but it did take me going. I know you mentioned you went to rehab a few times. I did go to rehab once, and it did take. That was helpful for getting me away from drinking because I just
yeah,
needed space, right? I needed 30 days where like it wasn't an option. Um,
yeah.
And then it was
I
like afterwards where it was like, okay, now what do I do?
Yeah, because what rehab does is stop the drinking or
Hmm.
the drug or whatever you use, and then you start to feel a little better. And but if you don't see it as bad as it is, if you don't take it seriously, you will get out and drink again. Uh, I did, um, and I spent 3 months in rehab.
Okay. Yeah.
I got out and relapsed.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and
but
it's kind of it's interesting, right? Because yeah, it gets you away from it, but it doesn't if you don't do the work like to kind of learn more about like what to do without it. Like and then you get jump back into the real world, you're out of the little rehab bubble and all the stressors are back and then it's just like what do I do now?
and sometimes you don't even know where to begin. Like, what is exactly my problem?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's trauma from the past or whatever, and or you just don't feel comfortable with yourself. I do remember. I always say that. I say a lot in almost all the episodes. I couldn't sit with myself because of the guilt and the shame,
Mhm.
and I didn't know who I was anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said that guilt and I got to that place too where it's like not knowing like my worth and if I even deserve to feel better like and I even alcohol aside, like I mentioned, I struggle with anxiety, but I struggle with some pretty deep depression as well. And so, like, it just all played a role in everything. And so, like, I'd get into this really dark, like, place where, I was drinking heavily, which was not helping my depression, but I was also just, like, very, like, not feeling good, just no motivation, just in a very dark place. And so, like,
Yes, and
anything to try to motivate myself to quit was hard because I was such in a low place. And I think a lot
yeah.
of people get there.
Then how do you get better if you're depressed and then the only thing you shouldn't do, and then shame, and we dig such a dark hole that it's hard to get out, and sometimes you don't want to reach to anyone. That's the thing,
Yeah.
you know.
I know for me too is because, I grew up just like I said, I focused a lot. I was good at school. I knew what I wanted to do. I was very, motivated in that academic career-wise thing. And so I had that and it still was I still felt like I was missing something and so drinking added to that too. But it was also made it so hard to admit that I was struggling because it would be admitting that I was like failing at life essentially. And so like part of where I really like to take my Instagram into where my coaching program is to like eliminate that thought that you're failing just because you're drinking because I know that like it took me so long to get help because I just didn't want more shame, more guilt, more feelings of being just like worthless because I couldn't control this on my own. And the truth
Yeah.
is that most people can't control this on their own when it gets to this point, and that's okay. And it's more than okay to ask for help because we're only human, right? We can only do so much by ourselves. And I found that in my recovery, community has been like the biggest part
Yeah,
of
definitely.
helping me. Yeah.
Yes, I feel much more connected now that I'm talking to all these people and sharing, and it is a lot of therapy because you put your thoughts into words
Hmm.
that makes you more organized about your thoughts. And another thing that helps me is to remind myself that it's just thoughts, a reality. Nothing's happening, everything's fine, and it doesn't last forever. It's gonna get better, and then have that patience with yourself to feel and wait until it goes, and maybe some days like just focus on yourself and not do anything like because I'm always on myself, like I have to do it more, I have to, and then sometimes it's too much pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think kind of with drinking, we get in this all or nothing thinking is like I have to do it all or I messed up. And so the hard part is keeping it simple when you're trying to quit, right? It's just like giving yourself some grace and being like, okay, I don't need to do everything today to quit. And because that sets you up to fail, because then when you don't do everything that you have this high expectations for, then you're like, well, I might as well drink. I failed. I didn't do it right. And so it's actually like I have found for myself and just with other clients I've worked with is like let's just take it down to the basics. Let's just like strip away all these like shoulds that we have in our head that we need to do and just go back to like let's just like start connecting with ourselves again and figuring out what it is that I need right now and what it is that I want right now and just
Hmm.
starting small because
Yeah.
then and not having that expectation of we need to just all of a sudden be sober and recovered today and move forward because it's never going to work that way. And sobriety and recovery is a lifetime thing. Like I find that it has allowed me to continue to grow because I'm sober, and so it like works with each other. There's no end game to it. Is how I see it.
Yes, there's no way to recovery from anything by drinking, right? So, and you just can't. You, you, you just need to stop because, especially because I think it gets so dangerous because you drink and then you drive
Yeah.
and affect all of your organs and
Mhm.
your mind and
Or even people who have been drinking heavily and then they just want to quit because they without telling anyone, and that's super dangerous too because that could send you in some really significant withdrawals. And so
yeah,
like it's just a lot of doing those all or nothing or black and white thinking is just never helpful, and that's really hard to understand when you're like in the middle of it. To just be like
yeah,
you just want to fix it right now and make it go away, and sometimes it's just not
yeah,
as
yeah. Sometimes and especially if you are like really really heavy in your drinking, it's not safe to stop by yourself.
mm-hmm.
So I always say go to a hospital or a clinic or some somewhere that you're gonna have assistant and take the right meds because I do believe that meds help at least in the beginning
Yeah,
when
make it
you
more
are
manageable.
really heavy in addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Right?
I think that's like important too. I worked in the hospital for a while too, and worked with clients and patients that would come in severe withdrawal, and um, yeah, that can be really hard to do on your own. So yeah, if you're in that place, it's definitely important. And it doesn't mean that you everyone has to do that, but it's just also just knowing where you're at and knowing that it's okay to just ask for help and go from there. I think
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was lucky that I had my parents that I reached out to, and they have been super supportive, but that was so hard to just actually admit that like I
I have a
was
problem.
doing
Yeah,
something. Yeah, even though they knew it for a long time. It was not a shock to them that I
yeah. We always think no one knows, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
everyone knows.
everyone knows.
Yeah.
And for me, I have to start to hitting bottles, and it was just horrible. Just a very sad path that I was in, and now I try to be real with myself.
Hmm.
Like, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna be, you're great, you're great. Why am I feeling so good? I will tell my husband, or I will just say, you know, I'm a little anxious. I'm not feeling my best today, and that's okay. And then sometimes you wake up feeling great the next day, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that denial is a big part of like addiction. You have to like because you're always trying to convince yourself it's not as bad as it is, or it could be worse, or I can do better. It's gonna be fine. And in being in recovery, like my husband's also in recovery, and so we have to
No.
be really like we try to be very mindful of being like, okay, yeah, I'm not feeling great today. It's like it's okay though. Like, and just being okay with having feelings and sitting with them. And but it takes a lot of work, especially two alcoholics that are like living together. Like sometimes like the weirdest thing sets us off, and we're just like all of a sudden 0 to 100, and we think like the world's ending, and we have to be like, whoa, okay, let's just pause and like nothing
Yeah.
bad is happening. We'll get through this and we'll keep moving forward. And I think
Yeah.
kind of where, yeah, meeting, I actually met my husband in treatment, and that's
Okay.
been able to like grow together in our recovery, which has been
That's
really, was our foundation to our marriage too. And so like, which is both great and also really hard. But I can say that like recovery has given me, yeah, the ability to have a relationship and have a marriage and to have a kid, which before I got sober, like I thought that was like not even an option anymore.
not even an option anymore. And that's so, yeah, it's crazy. After sobriety, you find out all those things that you are able to do and that you can do and that you never thought you could do. For me, even doing the podcast, like I've been doing like for 3 months, but I haven't done like in 2 years of my life,
Yeah,
and it's crazy,
yeah,
the time that we waste because as soon as you start drinking, you disconnect to yourself, and then you can't do anything else.
mhm,
So you lose a lot of your time
mhm,
with the drinking, and then the hangovers, and then the guilt, and then the shame,
yeah,
and it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to be an addict, and I always say sobriety might be hard, but it will never be as hard as be on addiction.
yeah. Yeah, being an active addiction, like it was just like it took so much energy and so much work to be like. I know we talked a little bit about like when you start hiding things, when you start trying to like time things and being like, when can I drink again or when can I not, and just like not being present and trying to just like navigate all that. It's so much energy into like one little drink. Whereas
Yeah.
there's so much opportunity when you're able to get out of that place. It can be, and like we said, it's hard to do, but it's possible, and
It's
there is a lot of great things on the other side of it when you can get through
Yeah,
it.
definitely a lot of great things, and you coach women.
I do, yeah. So like I said, I've been a therapist for the past 9 years, and so this opportunity to kind of expand to coaching allows me to really be more specific with recovery and work with women kind of all over. Um, I like to focus a lot on, women who are in similar positions that I was. You have a job, you're successful, you're doing all these things, and so it's hard to actually ask for help. And so being able to eliminate that shame of asking for help, and yeah, creating a space of community within like a small group because I'm an active member of AA, and that's been very helpful. But I do remember in my early sobriety how intimidating that was to go into this big room full of all these different people, and you know having something a little bit more intimate and with people that kind of you relate a little bit more to at first, I think is really helpful in early recovery.
Yes, definitely helps a lot of women, I think, to share more and don't feel so intimidated. That, like you said, go to AA sometimes or to a rehab, and you have the opportunity to have someone to talk to that's been through the same things. Sometimes it's even more helpful than I mean doing therapy. Or I think we should all do it therapy. It's not what I'm
Agreed.
not saying don't go to therapy, but I'm saying that sometimes someone that it's been through the same,
Yeah,
you
it's
feel more.
definitely different for just going to therapy than talking to women that have been through recovery, because yeah, therapy is a part of it, but their substance use is so different. Like I know there's a lot of people women I have talked to who's like, I've tried therapy, but like my therapist just doesn't understand. And that's a huge part, right? Is like having that person that, yeah, knows what it's like to be an active drinking and in it, because
Yeah,
from the outside, yeah, sometimes it seems just simple, like just stop drinking, but it's really so much more than that, and it's a lot of work, and it's to get to the other side of it is like it takes a lot of courage and strength and just like to keep going because it.
yeah, and you need really to understand the why, right?
Mhm.
You have to remember the why you're doing that.
Yeah,
You know, because sometimes we get a little better, and then you think, no, I can handle a drink, and I think it's always the wrong path to go.
yeah.
Um,
And I think that's when we always go back to it being like, oh, I can probably drink now. It's like, well, you probably didn't get to the point where you understood why you want to drink because I'm like, for me, it's, I know that, I mean, there's an off chance that I could have a drink and be okay, but there's a really high chance that if I have a drink, I won't be able to stop. And I don't want to get to that place again because remembering how far down it got. And so I think that when we start having those thoughts of like, maybe I can have one, that's when we have to like check ourselves and be like, wait, why am I having that thought right now? Because
yeah, and
what's
why
stopping me
why
from that?
should I have one, right? What will change in my life?
Yeah.
Nothing. You
Like
know.
what can I do? Like why does a drink sound so good right now? Okay, I probably need something else. Let me go think about that. And
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And so I always ask final questions like, what would you say, like the first thing for people who are really struggling right now at the moment, like today, maybe listening, the first step that you would advise to take? Because I always, I know when I was struggling, I didn't know what to do, like what the first step, like how do I deal with all of that, right?
yeah,
And so, what you tell like your clients, like the
yeah.
first step?
First thing I would say is to just kind of, if you can, give yourself some grace. And because our go-to is to beat ourselves up so much, and if we can find a little bit of compassion for ourselves to be like, okay, you are clearly going through a lot right now, and you're doing all that you can. So just keep going, and you're worth it if you want to get help. And so like I think shifting some of that mindset if you can, and even if it's just a little bit, to being like, okay, I'm doing what I need to do, and trying to eliminate any type of that shame or guilt that comes is a really big part of um, recovery. And then I think the next part is just like if you have someone comfortable that feel you can talk to, just reaching out and just kind of just being like, hey, like I need help, or I just need to talk to someone, and just opening up to someone, because
Yeah,
holding it by yourself is what I did, and it's a very very lonely place to be.
yeah, it's a very hard place to be, to be feel completely lonely, and you don't have to. So who is watching can reach out. That's why we're here, right?
Yes,
Um, like sharing our journeys and trying to reach as much people as we can. So don't be shy to reach out. And well, Megan, was great to have you finally, because we've
yes.
been because of the time difference. But thank you so much for being willing to share your story. And I probably share it tomorrow and post it
Perfect.
tomorrow. Then I tag you, let you know, and we keep in touch.
Yes,
You
sounds good.
know?
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So have a nice day, because I'm here almost done with my day.
Yes.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.